Welcome to Drinks Coach. Welcome to Drinks Coach. Welcome to Drinks Coach. I'm not going to try anymore. Welcome to the special episode 30 of Drinks Coach for Burns Night. Yes, I don't sound Scottish. I'm not Scottish, but I'm half Swedish, so I'm more northern than most of you. Yes. Right, so Burns Night. Hopefully this is going out on a night when you still have plenty of time to buy these things. They're all available in local supermarkets, and I've picked them because they're specially good value. This is a value Burns Night. So go to your local shop. I don't know, in Waitrose they sell McSweeney's haggis. I think it's very good. What's wrong with haggis? Who's going to think, look, haggis is not, they go, oh, it's a sheep's stomach full of guts and heart and lung. It doesn't, it's a sausage. If you've eaten a McDonald's burger, you've been eating that sort of shit for the rest of, for decades. Okay, so harden the hell up, get your haggis, get some nice gravy, add some of this to it. I don't know what it is about getting old and liking like mashed swede and things, but I like that stuff now. Turnips, neeps, tatties, sweet potato, black pepper. Stop with the accents one sec. You're going to sound Jamaican at any time now. Okay, so what have I got? Well, I've basically picked some wines, some whiskies, which I think will be a fantastic contribution if you're going around to someone's and they do the whole ode to the haggis. Mr. Daniel, I'm sure we'll do it at some point soon. Where do we start? Well, actually, where we start is this one. This is actually a whiskey which I featured before Christmas. We go back to the Sainsbury Buy Cool Stuff for Christmas episode around sort of early December. This was there, which was Highland Single Malt Scotch Whisky. I think made or selected and then created by White and Mackay, I believe. A delicious whiskey, chocolatey, like milk chocolate and orangey. It's like a Terry's chocolate orange whiskey. It's clearly not old, probably in about 5 years, I imagine. But I do not know which distillery it comes from. But an absolute classics of not fudgy, but kind of fruity, chocolatey Highland whiskey, and an extraordinarily nice drink for £24. So I just thought I'd mention that again if you don't like the other whiskies that I show you. But I'm showing you that because I've already done it, hence that much being gone. And that took some discipline, let me tell you. Right. But there's this one as well. Yeah. And I'm featuring them both because I think they're both good. But in the eye of the consumer of sheep's lungs and brains and arse, then if you're going to have a haggis, I think there's a much, much better choice. This is J. Sainsbury's Speyside. I imagine it was selected using the same bunch of experts. I imagine Richard Patterson had something to do with this, as he does in almost every decent whiskey by any supermarket in this country ever. But this is from the Speyside, right? Scotland. Let's say that's Scotland. I don't know how to... all right, Scotland, okay. And it's like that. It's like that bit. Newcastle's down here. Okay. This bit along the bottom, called the Lowlands, okay. And then we've got Edinburgh there. And then you get into the Highlands, okay, which is where the highest hills are. But also there's a river called the River Spey that comes up here. And there are like a billion trillion distilleries along the banks of the Spey. So it's called Speyside, and it's unique to itself. Some of those drinks are very potent and very intense. A lot of oak complexity. The one that's managed to convince everyone it's worth more than all the others is the Macallan. I'm not saying it's a bad whiskey, because it bloody isn't. But Jesus, the price you have to pay for it. Yes, I remember Macallan people. If anybody from the Edrington group is watching this, I remember sitting with my mum in the Three Lions in the New Forest in our pub at Christmas, and I'm saying, go on, choose yourself a whiskey. And I'd sit down with a double or a triple shot of Macallan 25-year-old. I sit with mum. And we used to buy another bottle to replenish that during, this is about 1988. And it was £4.95 a shot, not 495 quid. That probably wouldn't even cut it now. No, £4.95. We could buy a bottle for 80 quid. So I don't know how that's suddenly magically worth £2,500. You tell me. Anyway, not knocking it. Interesting group, beautiful whiskies and beautiful other things. But I am just saying that some whiskey is only expensive because people trade in it, not because there should be a law against that. But Speyside whiskies aren't always as fudgy and chocolatey as Butcher's Highland whiskies, and sometimes Highland whiskies like Benriach are very heathery and feathery and beautiful. But if I think about some whiskies along the Spey, I could number many of them. This is more, I think, Spey in style, and I think heather. I think Scottish lavender and honey. Definite smell of honey. Let's try this. I didn't bother trying the Highland because it's not really the point of topic, is it, today? What does that say on the front? It actually says, fruity, floral, gentle hints of oak and vanilla. Well, that kind of not too committal. I like that. I like to decide what it tastes like. But it does say honey on the back. But that's Speyside to me. A wonderful clarity in the palate and nose. When you smell it, there's a spice, a dry coriander spice maybe. There's a sort of a notion of sweetness on the nose, although I know you can't smell sugar. Definitely honey. Maybe the merest hint in this case of maple syrup. Then the whiskey tightens up and you end up with dried flowers and herbs. That's do you know what? That's a lovely drink for 24 quid. Well done, Sainsbury's. Okay. So that would be my cheapest whiskey this Burns Night? Yes, it would be. So if you really are short, and a couple of you are students and you can do Burns Night for the crack, if you're drama students, a couple of people could club together and easily buy a bottle of that, and it's delicious. And remember, it's not a competition. Just drink the whiskey that you brought with you and have it in little sips. Everyone gets absolutely mullered the first time. Just try not to, and drink as much water as you do whiskey. So that brings us on to the other three that I've picked for this particular Burns Night. The first one, from William Grant, similar chat as we've just had. This is William Grant's Aerstone. And I drank this for the first time at the beginning of last year, I think it was. I don't know how long it's been around. It can come from a billion places. But it is, I believe it's not an island whiskey, although it's called Sea Cask. And I don't know whether that's because they expose some of the casks to the sea. But it's going to be somewhere along the western seaboard of the mainland of Scotland and the Highlands. And it just says single malt Scotch whiskey. It doesn't say whether it's a Highland or a Speyside or whatever. But I don't know, it could be... I know it could be something like there's the Gervans distillery there, which is owned by William Grant, a very long column which produces extraordinarily high quality grain whiskey. But William Grant, of course, has access to many different distilleries, and it could be any one of those. In fact, they could have bought it from somewhere else. But what I like about this is it's got a bit of a leaning towards the more saline, salty, sea dog, seaweedy, smoky, slightly peaty whiskies, which the islands are more famous for. So let's have a little taste of this. This is called Aerstone 10-year-old Sea Cask. Smooth and easy. This one was bought from Sainsbury's. And I'm just going to find out some information for you all so I don't get it wrong. £33. So in the pantheon of single malt whiskies, although we're not told which one it's from, and this is now legit. Supermarkets have been doing it for years, non-disclosed single malts. But I think the packaging's there. It looks great. For all we know, we could just call the distillery Aerstone, okay? But there's been some aging in some casks. You can see some colour there. That's not caramel. That's the colour, I think, of maybe one or two sherry casks. There's definitely some sort of component there that could easily be the rancio of sherry. But also there's a lovely salty toffee nose to it. Hint of licorice. But breezy, simple, not too taxing, not too hard work. Remember, I'm picking these to go with a plate of peppery sausage, gravy and mash. And this is a little bit away from the more kind of warm, chocolatey style. And that brininess, I think, works beautifully in the context of the evening. And it's a lovely whiskey on its own. And I think that's actually, although it's not one of the best whiskies in the world, you can taste the age in the whiskey, and you can taste that it has a vinosity and a flow and a maturity. It's not all biscuity and cereal, which some young whiskies are. And I just think that's a very nice drink for 33 quid. Okay, we're going to go on to a couple of special ones now. Thank you very much to Jamie and also the people at the press office in Waitrose, because they both sent both of these in to me. I'm very, very grateful for that. You can see I've already had a bit of a tackle at this one. But they've got the Benriach Smoky one and the Benriach Original 10. So this is the Benriach Original 10. Benriach is a distillery that's been producing extraordinarily good value whiskey forever, since definitely the late 19th century. 1898, I think, is when they were discovered or formed. And this has been aged in 3 types of casks. You've got bourbon cask, sherry cask, and indeed, to fill out and make it more smooth and treacly, some white oak or some natural vanilla virgin wood. And this is a good whiskey. This would have been sold at Waitrose over Christmas for about £42. Am I right? Am I right? Yes. £42 for the original 10. Well, it's Burns Night, tenner off. £32. That's why it's here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's here because I think for 32 quid, which is £1 less than the Aerstone, you've got a brilliant whiskey which not only exudes class, it's very, very well balanced. Reminds me a lot of the Glen 12-year-old that I showed you during Christmas. If you go back, please back ref a few videos. If you look back on my channel, you'll see there was a whiskey episode for Christmas. And remember, these are about whiskies that go with Burns Night, go with the actual meal, that you can pour over your sausage and not ruin it. And what I love about Benriach is it's complete, it's total, like Old Pulteney. It's a session whiskey which has everything. If you wanted to step that up, I'd probably go up the scale. Next thing for me would be Cragganmore, which I'm very fond of, from Diageo. And I just think that this whiskey has all the complexity. There's a lovely smell of nutty Oloroso sherry on the nose. There's the smell of bourbon. There's the smell of wood. There's the smell of spice. There's a tiny bit of peat. Nothing great. But this is like 101 malt whiskey. If this is the first ever malt whiskey you're ever going to drink and you're going around to a Burns Night, this would be the one I'd pick. For people that find whiskey difficult, I think you'd find this less difficult. That's a really nice whiskey. There you go. But it doesn't tax. It's whiskey with stabilisers on. Okay? It's whiskey with water wings. But beautifully made. Delicious. Right. Going on to the one I'm drinking on Burns Night. Also from Waitrose. This is the Glen, Scotia, Campbeltown, Harbour malt. Glen, Scotia is one of the very few glorious distilleries now still making whiskey in Campbeltown. I believe though in the one small town there used to be 143 distilleries. Where's Campbeltown? Well, again, if this is Scotland and you're coming up the coast from Newcastle, you go right across the other side, go up through the Lowlands, and you get to a peninsula, then you drive all the way down to the end of the peninsula. That's where you find Campbeltown. It's probably quicker to get a car to Liverpool and get on a boat than it is to get there. It's a very, very long way away from England, and because it's down on that peninsula, if you kind of made that route north, it is the furthest region, if you like, classic Scottish malt region away from England. And Glen, Scotia has been making some astonishing and delicious whiskies for many, many years, and in the shadow of the most revered of them all, which is Springbank, and I understand why. Springbank is one of my absolute dearest loves of whiskey, and they're going up in price all the time. And you compare that to some of the other great island malts, which have similar flavours, like Scapa and Highland Park, Talisker, and then the whole of Islay. This whiskey has more vigour. It's on the violent side of Scotland. It's not all birds tweeting, Speyside, bees, and some people go, no, this is fucking rowing boats and waves, and that's this side of Scotland. And this is, although it doesn't have an age designator, you can pay £45 for a bottle of Glen, Scotia 10-year-old. But this, I imagine, is probably 6 or 7 years old anyway. But this has everything I want in a whiskey. And a little kiss of the old Islay as well. There's some peat here. This is the only challenging malt I've put in this lineup. But the more you respect, the more you give it, the more it gives back. This is Glen, Scotia, Campbeltown Harbour. Lovely colour. You can see there's some sherry casks in there. Ah. Ah. Yes, sorry, I'm just enjoying myself. Sorry, Emma, when you see this show. I'm pounding through this. I do apologise. It's only 40% alcohol. I think the Benriach's 43, I think. So at 40%, that means that the alcohol, the tax line is a bit lower, so it's a little cheaper, which means you can afford to pay for a little bit less. But this, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to bring something around which shows that you're a real true whiskey lover, it's fantastic whiskey for not much money. It's normally £38.50. At the moment, it's 25 quid. So that's £13.50 off at Waitrose between now and Burns Night. Please go and spoil yourself. You will not regret it. This is one of my favourite whiskies, and in fact, it was very close to being my whiskey of the year this year, if it wasn't for the fact that somebody very generously donated me an incredible $200 bottle of Michter's 10-year-old. But this is the whiskey that, because it doesn't have an age designation on it, I've been kind of reluctant to try, but I'm now glad I have. And I shall be buying 2 more of these before it comes off sale, because that's going to save me 27 quid, isn't it? Okay, one more little bit of fun. There's another whiskey here. I did ask Majestic, hi Chloe, I did ask Majestic to send me some nice whiskey for Burns Night. And she went, oh, we do have something we can send. It's from the office. It'll come in the post. And it came in the post. Here it is. It's Rampur double cask whiskey. Your eyes do not deceive you. It's smaller than the others. Okay. Having said that, though, I'm not... Chloe, I'm just taking the piss. I do apologise. I do want to say something about this, and that is that it's not just Scottish and American whiskey we look at anymore. You may have seen the massive explosion in the price of Japanese whiskey. I was fortunate enough to be in Tokyo less than 10 years ago, drinking Hibiki 17-year-old in highballs with soda in it, because it's only a recent thing that the prices have got so stupid. Japan makes good whiskey. Korea makes good whiskey. Taiwan makes Cavallan, one of my absolute favourite whiskies. I would almost say that if I was on a desert island and was only allowed to choose one whiskey for the rest of my life, Cavallan's nearly that whiskey. I'd miss the peat and the smoke too much, because there isn't any. It's tropical, generous. If you want to try a real heavy metal whiskey with real star quality, it's like watching Muse in concert. Cavallan Podium. That's my choice. This is Rampur. This is from India. There are some brilliant whiskies in India. Amrut, very famously, makes a delicious single malt, which they sold in Waitrose for many years. I don't know if they still do it, but it's about £50 a bottle. Packaging could be a bit better, but it's a properly delicious malt whiskey. As there's this, Rampur have been making whiskey, I can't remember what they used to be called, but they've been making whiskey since the Second World War. And if I buy a bottle of this, a whole bottle of this at Majestic, sure enough, it would cost me 60 quid. So I didn't expect Chloe to send me a whole bottle, but it's a shame, because you don't get the same pizzazz, do you? You don't get quite the same impact. And I'm not charging anyone to send me samples to tell you about it, so I might ask Chloe to send me a whole bottle of something next time. But I'm going to do it anyway. I've not opened this yet. This is Rampur double cask. So, if it's Burns Night and you decide you have your haggis with curry sauce, Rampur double cask malt, lovely colour. It's from a warmer country, and as I've known from drinking Amrut whiskey and drinking Cavallan from Taiwan, and there are many other distilleries, they do age faster in the warmer climate, certainly the humidity. Oh, blimey. Oh, Chloe's not so stupid, is she? I promise you I'd taste it, Chloe, and smells pretty good. 45 proof. Sorry, 90 proof. 45%. Double cask, bourbon cask and sherry cask. Wonderfully tropical. Actually very, if I think about it now, very similar in its modus operandi to Kavalan in Taiwan. It's delicious. It's kind of halfway between a fudgy Highland whiskey. For those people that know it, let's take Dalmore, like Dalmore 15-year-old or something like that, and we mixed it with a South African brandy or a cognac with some age, more than VSOP. And it has this wonderful toffee apple, sticky toffee pudding, slightly buttery deliciousness about it. Well, okay, it's come a long way. It's a bit exotic. 60 quid a bottle, which makes it still double the price of this one at the end. But maybe it's worth it. That is actually a very, very nice whiskey. That's the first time I've ever drunk Rampur. I did it online with you watching. That's 23 minutes. I promise I'll keep these shorter. Have a good night and don't get too pushed.